right, here we are on the first full day of our retreat. It's been a joy to be practicing with all of you, and I think you're beginning to get a sense of why retreat is so special and why it makes such a big difference. We all have these habits of our daily life that become so ingrained that we can't see the forest through the trees. Yeah? We're living our life and we're so busy, and yet we're not getting anywhere. Yeah? And we're not actually living. We're not actually seeing it or working with what's present for us. There's a case in the Mumonkan, the 29th case. Mumonkan was a collection of koans put together by a monk named Mumonkan in the 13th century. Yeah? And so all these koans were already around and being used by Zen teachers, but what he did was he assembled them in a collection, and he gave a brief commentary and a verse for each of them. And he called the collection the Gateless Gate, Mumonkan. His name, remember, was Mumon, gate. So he calls it the Gateless Gate. Interesting, yes. And the 29th case is called Not the Wind, Not the Flag. The wind was flapping a temple flag, and two monks were having an argument about it. One said, "The flag is moving." The other said, "The wind is moving." They argued back and forth, but couldn't reach the truth. The sixth ancestor, who happened to be walking by, said, "It is not the wind that moves. It's not the flag that moves. It's your mind that moves." And at this, the two monks were struck with awe. Yeah? They had no more arguing left to do in them. So this character, this sixth ancestor, was Daikon Ino. He was an illiterate woodcutter from South China. And when he showed up to study, the fifth ancestor, who we know as Hongren, tested him and his ardor by insulting him. He insulted the color of his skin and even made a reference to his illiteracy. But Ino was undeterred by this, and he pointed out that in the Buddha nature, that all was one, and that it didn't matter what you looked like, or what your skill set was, or how intellectually nimble you were, that it was present for everyone in the same way. So at this, Hongren was moved and recognized that he'd already had some significant insight, and so he didn't send him directly into the practice hall to work with the other students. He actually sent him behind the kitchen to pound rice. Sometimes I wonder, what the statement is about the monks who are practicing. I wonder if he thought that maybe they would pollute him a little bit, yeah, and that he would do better by just working on what was present, continuing to work on what was directly in front of him. Yeah? And he shows his ardor by continuing off on that path. And later on, he winds up giving Ino transmission after he wins a poetry contest. If only society would handle our problems this way today, right? There'd be several people I think would be disqualified from high office based on their inability to articulate themselves that skillfully. But his decision, the decision of the fifth ancestor to give transmission to the sixth ancestor, was pretty controversial because he hadn't even practiced in the hall with the rest of the monks. Yeah. And I think I mentioned already once, he was illiterate, right? So Master Konen, or Hongren, gives Ino some advice. He says, "Look, don't stay on this mountain. Hide yourself from society for at least 10 years and nourish the sacred seedling long and well. Otherwise, great suffering will come to you from people's jealousy. I'll show you how to escape." And so off goes the sixth ancestor, and he guides Ino to the river. He crosses by boat, And the master gives him the oars on his way out as he pushes the boat out to sea. And it looks like 15 years after these events, Ino reappears in this koan. And so it looks like he did indeed nourish the seedling very well. Yeah. The setting for this case is Hosoji. It's a temple in the province of Ko. And in those days, when the abbot was about to give a sermon, or there was going to be some Dharma lecture that took place, a flag was raised at the temple gate to announce the event. And one day, as was related, 2 monks saw the flag fluttering in the wind and started a quarrel about it. And Ino comes along and says, "Hey, you venerable monks, why are you arguing about this? It's neither the wind nor the flag, but your mind that moves." So in this case, we have to understand that the moving wind and the moving flag are not the reality. They're not the fact. They're just labels. They're just judgments. They're just ideas, right? The wind doesn't have, a t-shirt on that says, "I am the wind," nor does a flag have something that identifies it that way. These are both just labels. And when Master Ino says the mind is moving, really, even that's a label, but it's a way of getting them to release the other 2 labels. Ino's remark is almost like a finger pointing at the moon. He's gesturing. He's gesturing towards this great truth, right? He's using words and constructs to point to a place that's beyond words or constructs. So Ino's coming down to speak on their level, but even with that, they still aren't able to release, right? They're dumbfounded, they're amazed. Yeah? Some koans say, at this they were greatly enlightened. At this they weren't. They were so caught up in their ideas that it was impossible for Ino to shake them loose. So who cares? Who cares? What's the harm? Is there any harm done here? Between those 2 monks naming and labeling it? I'd venture, yeah, there is, or we wouldn't be talking about this case. How often do you look at situations and try to come up with some type of judgment or fixed idea about the situation before you even exposed yourself to what's there? How much do you miss because you don't even expose yourself in an act of protecting yourself because sometime in the past your karmic trajectory has said, when I do this, things don't go well. You meet somebody, you fall in love, you have a divorce, then you meet somebody else and you start to have that same feeling inside and you say, whoa, I'll open myself this much, but not that much. Because if I do, then they'll just drive a bus through there and I'll get hurt. The very act of labeling the wind and the flag obscures their ability to see what is really there. To see what is really there. And we all go about our lives this way. Not actually seeing, not actually being present with what is, but just sitting there and coming up with all the judgments, thoughts, feelings, and constructs about it. This is no way to live. Yeah, it can be very, seductive. Yeah, because this grasping mind can try to form some concrete around the Dharmakaya, or the absolute basis of reality, to make us feel like we're getting somewhere, but all we're getting is lost. Yeah. If you want to be present, right, with this case, then just be present with that motion. Yeah? Be present with that flag in a way that doesn't label it. Be present with the wind as you feel it blow on your face. Yeah? And then you'll know it by its action. Mumonkan says of this case, it's not the wind that moves. It's not the flag that moves. It's not the mind that moves. Where do you see the essence of the ancestor? If you have a close grasp of the matter, you'll see how the 2 monks, intending to buy iron, actually got gold. And what the ancestor impatiently said was a failure on the spot. These 2 monks, hoping to win some ideological argument yeah, actually were able to wake up and see what was right in front of them. That's the content of awakening, your very life. You say, well, I don't know, that's not all that impressive. I think I've seen flags before. I would venture, no, you haven't. That's the type of attitude that gets you into trouble in the first place, right? It's a miracle. It's a miracle that unfolds when we see things just as they are and look past our story. Gold is an understatement. It's nothing less than a dead man coming to life. The verse here is, the wind moves, the flag moves, the mind moves. All have missed it. They only know how to open their mouths and do not know that their words have failed. Yeah. Don't be that. Don't be that zombie muttering like you're talking in your sleep. Yeah? Just be present with the experiences of life. Join the dance, yeah? Rather than sitting on the sidelines and critiquing everybody else for how silly you think they look. How often are we lost in our own story? We keep our spotlight trained so solidly in our discursive mind that we actually begin to identify with it. We think that's who we are. We train so hard, we enter samadhi and think that we're that voice in our head. But if you look at this closely, you're able to easily release your grip on the story and your labels drop away. This idea of self drops away. When this idea of self drops away, what are you left with? I don't want to spoil the surprise. Hakuin, Zen Master Hakuin put it like this: the primary objective for superior students engaged in authentic Zen practice must be to become a burning lamp. To do that, you must arouse a great burning desire, vowing to follow the way with dauntless courage, enduring infinite pain and suffering, grudging neither life nor limb, until you achieve a kensho of such clarity that you can see it as though you're looking at it right in the palm of your hand. It says, in order to attain a kensho or satori of that kind, you first have to hear the sound of one hand. Yeah. You know the sound of two hands clapping. You actually have to hear that sound of one hand clapping. That sound is always present, right? But if you keep looking for it where you think it's going to be, then you're never going to find it. Drop away your fixed ideas, and life presents itself precisely as it is. Yeah? So just let go. Let go of your judgments for just a few minutes. Look in the mirror at what these judgments are, and let them drop away and see what actually is manifest when that's all left. Oh, well, it's such a distinct honor to be practicing with all of you like this. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you all had the courage to show up. Yeah? So just continue to express that courage to press on, work with your koan. Yeah? When you're distracted, when your thoughts are carrying you away, just come back to right here, right now. And be present with this wonderful practice that enables you to see life as it is. Right. We're going to break now for lunch. Wait, what time is it? 10:15? Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to take a break until 11, and then we're going to have lunch. So you have a 45-minute break. So I encourage you, get out and solve this question about the wind and the flag, all right? Is it the river moving or is it the boat? Yeah?